guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be filming one of those shady videos that everyone loves. There are mixed feelings in the booktube community regarding unhauls. I've heard that you can get a lot of hate comments on them if you get rid of other people's favorite books. I guess I'll just give the disclaimer that everyone gives. If I'm getting rid of your favorite book, I'm sorry. It just wasn't for me. I would not call myself a minimalist by any means. I have way too many clothes to qualify. But as far as when it comes to belongings, I do tend to like to own less things than more things. That makes sense. And I just realized that there's a lot of books that I've either read and I don't really like, or books that I probably will never read, or books that were sent to me unsolicited that I'll probably never read. So there's just like a whole lot of books that I don't need in my life. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share them with you. I probably won't give very detailed synopses, but just have a good time watching me throw shade while I get rid of books. The first book I'm getting rid of is The Takedown by Corey Wang. This was a book that was sent to me unsolicited, and I know some people who read it, and it just doesn't really sound like something I'd be interested in. It's like about a girl in school where there's like a lie going around about her that she like had sex with a teacher, and then I don't know, she has to like figure out how to like preserve her reputation. I don't know. The next book I'm getting rid of is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. For anyone who watched my July and August wrap-up, you'll know that I didn't really love this book. I give it about 3 stars. I really like the cover, but I didn't really love the content. It's super great if you want a lot of representation because the main character is plus size, and she's Jewish, and her sister is queer, and her moms are lesbians, and one of her moms is actually technically bi, and then one of them is also African American, and there's just like so much representation up the wazoo in this book. So if you want to read this, go ahead. I don't love Becky Albertalli's writing, so. The next book I'm getting rid of is Here by Robin Epstein. A friend of mine gave me this about 2 Christmases ago, and I looked it up on Goodreads and it doesn't have very good reviews. I think it's like a dystopian or something, and I'm just kind of over that genre, so I probably will never read this, so I need to get rid of it. I really think I'm breaking things every time I throw those books. Next 2 books I'm getting rid of are volumes 1 through 4 of Death Note. I know these are a fan favorite, but I didn't particularly enjoy them. Like, I enjoyed them enough, but I didn't love the series enough to keep reading, and also mangas are very expensive. I really like these editions though because they're black and they're really simple, and I like the covers. Yeah, I probably won't read them. And then I'm getting rid of the unofficial companion book to The Vampire Diaries. One of my friends got this for me, I think in like 2012, because we both loved The Vampire Diaries, and she just thought this was a funny gift, and I've actually read it. It kind of goes through, I think, the 1st and 2nd season and gives you like a lot of like bonus content and stuff, but I just know I probably won't reread this. I honestly kept it this long just out of like sentimental value for my friend giving it to me, but it's just kind of taking up space on my shelf, and I feel like someone else might enjoy it, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Oh, I just totally fucked up the cover on that book. Then we have A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. I really liked this book, but I didn't love it as much as other people, and so I think I should just give it away so that someone else can enjoy it. It's a really cute book about a boy who is shy in school and has like a dark past, and he makes friends with an older boy at the high school, and they have like a long history, and they used to be foster brothers and like all of these things. I don't really feel like explaining the book, but it was good and I liked it, but I didn't love it, and so that's why I'm gonna give it away so someone who loves it more can read it. I'm gonna start placing the books down, so yeah. Then we have City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. The reason I'm getting rid of this is because this is the only book I own in the series, and TMI definitely isn't even my favorite Cassandra Clare series, so it's just kind of like taking up space, and it's really big, and like I said, I don't own the rest of the series, so it just doesn't make sense for me to keep it. I'm really afraid to throw this one. I'm just gonna drop it. Also, while we're at it, I'm getting rid of the 2nd book in the Mortal Instruments series, City of Ashes. Again, I have no reason to own these books because I don't have any of the others in the series. This is actually my mom's book that I took from her, and I read it a really long time ago, and I still have it, and it's just been sitting on my shelf, and like I said, I probably won't reread TMI, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Again, I'm gonna drop it because I'm afraid. Next up, we have Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. This was a really random purchase of mine. I actually have never read Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I have this because in 2015 I went to a book signing in Atlanta for Ransom Riggs because I wanted to meet other booktubers, but in order to go to the signing I had to buy his book when it was being released, and so I spent like $20 on this book, but I probably will never read it. It's also signed to me, which is kind of funny because I'm gonna get rid of it, but yeah. I have since decided that when I get books signed, not to get them signed to my name because I'm pretty sure I may or may not get rid of it later. So it's a little awkward when your name is in a book and then you're like, I don't want you. Next up we have Flawed by Cecilia Ahern. This is a dystopian book. I have no idea what it's about, but I got this in, I think, an Owl Crate box, and I just know I'm not gonna like it because it's dystopian and I'm just like not into that genre anymore. So, oh my god. I probably should stop throwing the books, but I feel like it just like adds drama to the video, so I'm gonna keep doing it. And then we have With Malice by Eileen Cook. This was sent to me unsolicited from a publisher. I thought the cover was cute, but Brandon from Brandon the Book Addict read it and he didn't like it. And I feel like if he didn't like a book, then I definitely won't like it, especially if it's a thriller. And I kind of struggle with YA thrillers. This is about a girl, I think she is like abroad in like Italy or something, and one of her friends ends up dead and like she's a suspect, and it sounds interesting, but according to Brandon, the execution isn't very good, so I'm just gonna... Then I have The Love Interest by Cale Dietrich. I feel bad about this one because I met Cale in person. He's so nice, but I have a few friends who have read this and they've told me a little bit about the writing style, and although I think that the plot is interesting because it's like a love triangle between two boys and a girl, but the boys end up falling in love, and I think that sounds really interesting, and it's kind of like a spy novel, but I just know from the writing style that I probably wouldn't like it. So I might read it like later on audio or something, but I just don't think I'm gonna keep the physical copy because it's taking up space and I just don't think I'm interested. All right, here we go. And then I have Don't Look Back by Greg Hurwitz. The premise is slightly interesting in this book. It's like about a woman who goes to the jungle and like witnesses a murder or something, and then like people are after her. But I looked it up on Goodreads and it had really bad reviews, so I was like, no thank you. And then I have 1 Second After by William Forstchen. This is a really random book for me to have, but awkward story. I went on a date once and the guy knew I liked reading, so he gave me this book because we had talked about it on our first date. And it was really weird because it was only our second date and he like put a bow on it and like gave it to me like almost like a Christmas gift because it was near Christmas, and it was just weird and I felt uncomfortable, and I've just kept it for a long time because I felt bad. Now I'm like, I definitely will never read this because I don't talk to that guy anymore. Also, the foreword is by Newt Gingrich and I do not support that message. And then we have the 10th anniversary edition of Twilight. I bought this when it first came out because 14-year-old Sarah just like came up out of me and was like, please, nostalgia's sake, you have to get it. You have to. You know you want it. You loved Twilight when you were 14. And I was like, you're so right. So I got it, but I tried reading the retelling Life and Death and it was not good. It was literally the same story, but just like pronouns and names changed. So it wasn't very good, and I just don't think I could ever reread Twilight, and I just need to be realistic with myself that this is wasting space on my shelf, and so I'm going to get rid of it. Next up, I have You Know Me Well by Nina LaCour and David Levithan. I actually got this at BEA, I think, in 2016? Yes, that's when I went to BEA. And I wanted it because I've never read a David Levithan book, but I read on Goodreads that this definitely isn't Nina LaCour or David Levithan's best book. And even though it's signed to me, which again is kind of awkward, I just know I'm not going to read it, and somebody else will probably enjoy it more than me. The next 3 books are just basic ass YA books that I don't feel like describing. They were sent to me unsolicited by a publisher, and I specifically told this publisher not to send me any books unless they were diverse, whether that be in race or sexuality or disability, etc. And then they literally sent me a book about 2 white people who play hockey. And like, these books could not be any whiter. I mean, to be fair, this one doesn't have white people on the cover, but the back, I mean, I don't want to assume, but it all sounds white as shit. I will not be reading these. I'm definitely gonna break something. The next book was also sent to me unsolicited. It's called Island of Exiles. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be interested in it after reading the cover a while ago when I got it. It just doesn't seem up my alley, and sometimes I just feel like publishers don't even watch my videos to know what kind of books I like. Next up, I have literally all my textbooks from college, from my film classes, that I just kept because they're kind of interesting, but then I realized I was never gonna reread them. I took like a superhero class and then a class on Lovecraftian horror, and I'm just like, Sarah, you're not gonna reread this, so you should definitely get rid of them. Oh, and here's another textbook that I just found. I'm actually sad to get rid of these 3 Louise Renison books because these are my original copies from high school, but I don't have the rest of the series, and although I love the Georgia Nicholson series, I feel like I would probably just repurchase it rather than keep these original copies. They're just kind of like in bad shape, and they were like in my trunk for a while in my old car and like just really beat up, so I think I'm gonna give these to Goodwill. I don't even think like Half Price Books would take them, so I'm gonna be gentle with these ones. And then lastly, I have a couple of arcs that I'm just not really interested in reading. First of those is The Free by Laura McLaughlin. I think this is a story about a boy who goes and stays in some sort of like therapy center, which is kind of interesting, but this was sent to me unsolicited and I didn't ask for it, so it's not really something that I'm like super interested in, so it's just been sitting on my shelf for over a year now, so I thought I should just like get rid of it. And then we have Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This is a book that I got at BEA in 2016, and I had interest in reading it because it's a mental health book about a girl who has cutting problems and also is anorexic and other things are going on in her life. I think she's also homeless. And I started listening to it on audiobook this year, but it's very graphic and it's very dark, and it is own voices. It's based on part of the author's real life, but it's extremely dark and I felt really uncomfortable with the content, which is not normal for me because I read a lot of really dark, like fucked up things, but I just felt like some of the stuff in here was very triggering. I don't personally have experience with the things that the main character is struggling with in this book, but it was just really dark to me because I couldn't see how someone who does struggle with those things could read this because it's extremely triggering in my opinion. It almost read like instructionally, like how to do the destructive things that she's doing in the beginning of the novel. So I'm not even sure if I made it like halfway through. It was just really hard for me to get through, so I kind of gave up on that audiobook, and I think I should get rid of the ARC because I don't think I'm gonna read it. And then I have Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven. This was actually shrouded in a lot of controversy when it came out because of the description that was given on Goodreads when the book was first announced. I just remember, I think it was like kind of derogatory towards like the main female character who is very plus size. And so people were like pretty upset just by the description. And I got this at BEA in 2016 and I started listening to the audiobook and I just didn't like grab me, and I didn't really like the narrator, so I just decided to give up on it, and I just don't think it's something that I'm going to go back to, so it doesn't really make sense for me to keep this, even though Jennifer Niven did sign it to me. Again, that's kind of awkward. Then I have A Torch Against the Night by Sabat Tahir. This is very sad because this was one of my most anticipated books of 2016 and I just really didn't like it. I listened to the audiobook version and this ended up on my list of worst books of 2016 because I just like hated it so much. I was so disappointed and I don't even know if I'm going to keep going in the series because I disliked this book so much. Then the last 2 things I have are chapter samplers, and the reason I'm getting rid of these is because I think chapter samplers are for losers. Like, why am I gonna read like 50 to 100 pages of the book when I could just wait for the whole book? It's just not gonna happen. But that's pretty much it for this unhaul. There's not really a point to an unhaul besides just saying I'm getting rid of these books, but it's very similar to a haul because there's not really a point to that either because you're just showing people like I got these books, so it's like the opposite. Obviously because it's called an unhaul and the other one's called a haul. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if any of these are your favorite books, if you're like offended that I'm getting rid of them, or if you agree with me and you're like, yeah, get rid of it, do it. Thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day. Searching for bases, covering up the hole. I'll fight for your love.